Deep in central Zambia is a family of elephants with an historical attachment to a certain wild mango tree. They've been visiting it for decades, and when a lodge was built around the tree, they didn't let it change their route, even if it did take them up the steps and through the lodge reception.
I was waiting for it to happen, and suddenly she was there, you know, and as if from nowhere she appeared with the rest of the family and casually walked through the reception.
Ian Salisbury is the GM of Mfuwe Lodge, just inside the boundary of the South Luangwa National Park. A guiding instructor with over 20 years' experience, he's been watching this particular matriarch since he arrived 4 years ago.
I've seen elephants all over Africa, but I've never seen anything quite like this.
Neither had Akim Wanza. The lodge receptionist, he was the first one to witness the family's grand entrance.
When I was very young, I saw the elephants passing through, and it was Wonky Tusk.
There's no fence to the park, so elephants often visit the wild mango trees in the villages on the main road, meaning frequent contact with the residents.
I was a little bit nervous, yes, because when we go back in the village, they terrorize us.
The matriarch of this particular herd has been named Wonky Tusk by the lodge staff for fairly obvious reasons. This was the first time she'd led the family through reception, something that was to become a regular event. Everyone at the lodge would soon be connected by this astonishing exercise in animal behavior and had a tale to tell.
They will actually halt, turn back and face the reception, and then turn back and then walk through and come down to the tree here.
Akim says their behavior isn't always appropriate.
I also remember the other day, Wonky came with the family. One slept just here, so Wonky had to wait for the baby to wake up. It took almost 11 minutes just here sleeping.
Amy in reservations is still amazed by elephants interrupting their meal times.
One night after dinner, the family came through. So we all left dinner and came over and sat for about an hour where we're sitting now and watched them eat.
For 20 years, Amy Alderman was a lawyer in the United States. Then she came on holiday to Mfuwe Lodge. She liked it so much, she ended up working there.
It was, again, this kind of intimate experience where you just feel so kind of honored that they choose to come toward you and accept you.
Ian has been monitoring this contact for years.
She has a habit of coming every year virtually on the same day, which is sort of mid-September, and she checks around. There's obviously no mangoes at that point, and then comes back about 6 weeks later for the arrival of the mangoes.
Wonky has been visiting this tree for a long time.
1989 is the first written record that I've seen of hers. There's records of her coming for well over 25 years or more.
The first person to record Wonky's horribly skewed tusk was a former chief ranger of the South Luangwa National Park, Phil Berry.
I first saw her in 1989, and she was out back where the courtyard is. She was feeding under a wild mango tree. She had an unusual tusk, and tusk was pointing down towards the ground and curving inwards under her trunk.
A legend in Zambian conservation circles, Phil is a guiding instructor who's led hundreds of walking safaris through Big Five country. Another ranger to notice was Patson Firi.
I was actually driving, I had some guests, and then we were going towards Big Baba, and then I found that this elephant, it had a wonky tusk.
But more than Wonky's misshaped tusk is the elephant's entrance that's caught people's attention. And not many will be as familiar with elephant behavior as Phil.
Certainly very unusual. Never known any other elephants to do that. It's unique, in fact.
Like the baboons, the elephants visit for one reason only: food. The mangoes that fruit from mid-November, and there's almost a ceremonial air about the visit.
This is their route, and they will come through here every time.
This particular wild mango is a big tree, and the fruit will be falling off come late December. For now, it's up to the baboons and monkeys to get the fruit down to the elephants on the ground. Inasmuch as they love the fruit, these visits wouldn't happen if it wasn't for one simple fact. The animals trust the humans who run the lodge.
When they come here, it's coming on their terms, and so it's just a different experience than when you encounter elephants out elsewhere in the park, when you're approaching them and encroaching on their personal space.
One thing they started doing last year, which was a first, was actually coming into the lodge area and literally lying down on the ground and falling asleep.
The elephants are so at ease at the lodge that they even make detours.
In the past, they have tried to come down, past the bar. And we did have an elephant twice in our gift shop, and an elephant that actually climbed the steps and went into our bush spa.
3 years ago, Wonky Tusk gave birth to a calf they named Wellington.
Very early one morning, I remember hearing the elephants creating a huge fuss and trumpeting and screaming. And looking through binoculars across here, you could see a tiny baby being very closely guarded by Wonky Tusk.
2 days later, Wonky brought the young Wellington into the lodge. He joined his mother in becoming an internet celebrity. They've even had children's books written about them. The exploits of these elephants have been communicated around the world, mostly by the World Wide Web, where Ian records their seasonal visits in a daily blog called The Mango Diaries. Wellington has clearly stolen Ian's heart.
That's the part of this story I've enjoyed the most, watching that baby grow up and getting so close to a baby like that, because he's always been, like his mother, extremely trusting and extremely relaxed. At 3 years old, he's actually one of the main characters of the family. He's really quite a sort of cheeky young individual.
Will Burrard-Lucas is a wildlife photographer. He came to Mfuwe to capture images of Wellington and the elephants, along with Zambia's impressive animals. Will has a yen for invention. He designed a beetle cam that allows him to photograph animals from unusual angles.
A lot of times you'll see great wildlife photos, but they're taken with a long lens, you get a very shallow depth of field, and you don't really get the sense of the animal in the environment, whereas the beetle cam perspective is quite unique.
Will's first African experience was filming in the Serengeti and Kenya's Masai Mara Game Reserve. Through trial and error, he learned that his camera should be well protected.
Certainly a few lions sort of gave it an exploratory bite, but the armoured shell fortunately sort of stood up to their attention and managed to get some really cool shots.
His next project was time-lapse photography of the annual wildebeest migration over the Mara River. Now he's at Mfuwe Lodge, positioning cameras best to photograph Wonky and her family from unusual angles.
It's much more proactive. I can sort of find the animals and then drive the beetle cam towards them.
Will's not the only one interested in the spectacle. Some tourists travel across the globe to see it and hang around all day waiting for the elephants, always with cameras at the ready.
One of the problems is people trying to take pictures with their cell phones or their small cameras, you know, where they want to get closer and closer.
These are wild animals, they're not tame animals. You get people who try to get too close, they want to take close-up photographs, and it just needs one the elephant to maybe even accidentally injure somebody, and then that will create a huge problem.
They seem so calm and chilled when they're here, and so it is easy to forget these are still the elephants that you have to be very careful with.
Wonky's family visited every day while Carte Blanche was there. Wonky herself hasn't been seen for a while.
It's almost a month by now. So it's very unusual that we can see the other group, the other youngsters are still moving on their own, which is very unusual for elephants.
Some refuse to consider that anything could be wrong.
I don't think so at all, no. And in fact, I can't just wait to see them. I was hoping they'd come through now. So I keep looking and waiting for them to come through.
Wherever Wonky is, her legacy lives on through her extended family that continues to visit the tree, making new friends along the way.